with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Right here on International Public Radio, United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. The Outer Realm is fully sponsored by the amazing folks over at Folgers Coffee, who have had faith in us from the very beginning. Thank you, Folgers. It would not be the same without you being a part of this journey with us. Tonight, we welcome a new sponsor to the Outer Realm. We are truly grateful and honored for his contribution of time and his music for our new intro and outro. Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, is an award-winning composer of Halloween horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music. Dr. Snick's music is available on Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, and most streaming platforms. So we thank you for your generous contribution to our show. Welcome to the journey. So tonight we welcome for the very first time here on the show, Mr. Dave Petrella. He will be discussing astrology, his contribution to the Oak Island Project and the show, and wherever else we end up going to. He's an interesting guy. You may have seen him in chat. We sort of yanked him out of chat and brought him forward to be part of the show. So in order to participate in tonight's show, please head on over to the International Public Radio, and that would be YouTube. Subscribe. It's the only place where you'll get direct interaction with us, because if you tag Amelia, you will get immediate responses. However, you can find us also on Twitch. You can find us on multiple Facebook platforms, one being The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, one being Canada's Most Haunted, Michelle Desrochers, UFO Paranormal Radio, News on the Flip Side, and Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover. So as you see, you have a lot of different options. We can see you, just doesn't mean that we're going to be able to respond right away, but we will do our very, very best. So as we are a little bit delayed tonight, we're still playing around with a new format, and I'm looking for our banner, which I don't see.
Oh, thanks, Wayne. He said your image has a glow.
Who, yours or mine? Yeah, I don't
mine.
know.
Hi,
I don't know what just happened.
Yeah, I can't get to it. I moved the light though.
Okay, there we go.
That some of it, I can see it on the bottom, but I think it's my lighting because it was in front of the camera instead of behind.
Okay. Well, this is good. All right. This is good. I don't see our banner. So if Joe hears us, maybe he can get the banner up, because I have no idea. So
I see the glow. That's a light. That's the lighting in my room.
Hi, Corinne. Hi, Wayne. Hi, Janie. Wow, this is great. Starting to get the gang all in. So maybe we should read David's bio, and hopefully he's gotten the
he messaged. Hold on.
The memo, and he's got in there, and hopefully he'll be able to get in there. No problem. I'm just checking.
I got the link, Amelia. I'm trying to talk to Michelle on Facebook.
Well, he
says I need to edit the link already.
Okay. Click on it. Okay, let's try that. Because he doesn't realize that
his browser.
I'm not on Facebook. I'm actually on StreamYard, so it makes it a little bit harder. So sorry. There we go. Okay, David Caruzio. Hey. So anyway, maybe we'll just do the bio and see. And while you're doing that, I'll try to see if I can get him on it.
Sure, no problem. It's a brief one. Actually, if you are a regular here, you'll know that Dave Petrella actually frequents our chat room quite often, and that's what sparked this conversation to have him on. Dave Petrella is an astrologist, biologist, spiritual guide, I need a deep breath, and Oak Island theorist. He's traveled to all 50 states and most of Canada doing research. Dave has studied world religions and spiritual traditions extensively, along with Eastern medicine, metaphysics, and topics related to extraterrestrial intelligence. So he's always participated in our chat room, and he was so knowledgeable, and we were having so much fun. We're like, you need to come on.
I know. I'm going to send him another link. And this
Yes.
makes it really difficult, I think, I'm going to try it this way. Dave Petrella, let's try this. Send it. Okay, let's try it this way and see if he gets it. My gosh. Try this. Okay. It's
Let's see
really
what
difficult
happens.
because some of our guests do like to come on, or they use the phones, and it makes it really hard because StreamYard doesn't like Apple. So sometimes you have to copy and paste the link to, certain platforms that prefer
Yeah.
a little better, like Chrome or things of that nature. So we are just waiting.
I
And
have Chrome
hopefully,
on my phone.
me too. So
Yeah.
I guess it's just a matter of copy and pasting it. And
I prefer Chrome over Safari, even though I have an iPhone. I prefer Chrome.
sort of the same, but I'm going to leave that right there. So, yeah. So,
But anyways, crazy weather over here.
All that dinging you hear, where in the settings can I allow StreamYard? I don't know. I don't know, David.
What did Joe? Oh, he's putting up this. Okay, he's working with the graphs.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
so we're just gonna work on that for now. Crazy butt weather. Hi, Jojo. Can't hear you.
Sorry, my mic was muted.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So look, tell him to look for Cam and Mike when he first comes in. It's going to give an offer between Cam and Mike, and when he clicks on it, he goes in there. It's going to give him an audio and camera setting. So he can go to camera, and there's going to be a pop down box that lets you decide what camera. Like if I click on this, I'm going to go bye. If I click on this, I'm going to come back. Oh, I said I'm going to come back. I'm lying. There I am. And they got the same thing for the audio. It allows you to pick what system you. Sorry. It allows you to pick what system you want it to come through. But it's down there where it says Cam and Mike. When you first come in, it gives him the option to go in there and pick. He can look and see which one's moving and which one's not. It's a pop-down box. It's a pain in the ass.
This is trying to give StreamYard permission. Yeah.
He's got to give them permission, and then if it's still not working, then he's got to go into that Cam and Mike settings and change it. You don't have to go on his computer and set it. It'll let you do it on StreamYard, but you.
Oh, he's on his phone.
Yeah, he's on Cam and Mike. Oh, phones are harder. Depends what kind of phone he's on too.
I know.
Oh, I'm listening. Okay. Okay. So, go in one of the chats. I can't sit here.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't sit on here and do this. Go into one of the chats so we can see.
Okay, I can talk to everybody about my experience tonight.
Yeah, we can do that. So, Dave, just come in one of the normal chats that you come in, and then we can see your comments. Joe can see it, and we can go from there. I can't sit on Messenger while I'm live. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because she can't be on camera at the same time.
I know. So please, you had a pretty weird, crazy experience.
It's been a rough day for that poor guy.
I know. I feel bad.
So crazy butthead date for me today. We have these storms going on in Ontario, Canada, and I don't know where they came from, but anyways, crazy storms. I messaged Michelle and Joe. I'm like getting ready for the show and doing my makeup. Thank God I wasn't on the other side of my bathroom doing my hair. Now I live out in the country, so when there's a thunderstorm, there's a ton of open spaces. There's a lot of, room for lightning, although I've never seen it anywhere close to me. So I'm doing my makeup, and all of a sudden this big shot of lightning goes right behind me through into the shower. And I was just like, what the F was that? Right behind me. I mean, it wasn't even 2 feet behind me. I even felt it when I saw it. Crazy. I've never had lightning in the house.
No, that would be pretty frightening. And lucky you weren't too close to the window. Honestly, it's crazy. There's like tornadoes in
David
southwestern
doesn't live far from me. It's like crazy.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes. So we're going to bring Dave into chat, and maybe Joe can assist him once he gets here, because I cannot be on Facebook Messenger when I'm live. It's a big faux pas. I can't.
All I kept thinking was, man, if I was doing my hair at that time, I would have been hit. But think about it. Think about it. Would that have improved my abilities or
the what?
shut them down? Would it have improved my abilities or shut them down?
Ooh.
It's
I don't
interesting.
know. You look at Baba Vanga. She was struck by lightning.
Yeah.
When she was younger, she lost the use of her eyes. However, she ended up being one of the biggest phenomena of our time with her abilities. Okay, Dave, there you are. Maybe Joe can chime in for a few minutes. I don't know what kind of phone you have. I don't know if you're looking to get permission from your phone, but if you can make it into StreamYard, there is an icon at the bottom here with Cam and Mike that you just click on, and it basically you can come in with that.
If you have a tablet or a computer, it would be better though.
It's hard on the phones, but we do have guests who do it.
Yeah.
I sent a link direct, right? Messaged it right from the soundboard. So it is the link. You just need to be able to try to paste it into either Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, Microsoft Explorer, I believe, are the ones you have some options there, I think. So I think Joe can actually see the chat, so maybe he can.
He's still
I'm here. So when you get ready to enter StreamYard, it's going to give you three things at the bottom down there. Let me go back where I can see it. It's going to give you mute, stop cam before you enter the studio. This is a screen before you come in the studio. It says mute, stop cam, and mic. If you click on the cam and mic, it allows you to go down to the pop-up. You'll see camera. You can go in a pop-up box and find out which one of your cameras is actually working. You can go into audio and say the same thing. Because if you're talking in the mic, when you go to adjust it, like when you go to audio, you'll see the green lines moving. So if you don't see them, you can filter through the pop-down box until you find which one's working.
He says he's in site settings, so I'm hoping that's a StreamYard site settings.
And because it's really, when you first come in, it says let you check your camera and mic. If it's not going up and down green, if you can't see yourself in the box when you're in the other room, and you don't see the mic coming up and down, that's what the cam and mic settings are for. You can pop down there and look around until you find the ones that are working.
No, it's in his phone settings. It depends on your phone.
No, it's a screen that you come in. It's the same for everybody.
It has mic and cam on it.
Yeah, it's going to say mute, stop, cam, and mic.
I allowed everything in StreamYard. Now he's just fighting with the phone. You just have to make sure that your mic, your phone is allowing your mic to be on. It says the browser has blocked the mic and the camera. So I think you have to go into maybe your settings and get that. Go to the browser, go to the app, and allow it to use your mic and your camera. Give that app permission to use your mic and your camera. I don't know what kind of phone you have. I have iPhones.
His browser has blocked it.
So
he has to go all the way back and start over again.
That's hard. Computers are easier.
I know.
And be sure you're not on Safari.
It's on Android. Joe can
it's an Android, Joe. Yeah. So it should have
Android
Google.
rocks. Okay, I'm out here.
Yeah, we see how much it rocks. Just saying.
Yeah, you should be able to get this no problem.
Watch it, Red.
Which one?
So, wish there was an easy way to do this.
Okay,
no, it's
he's on Chrome, so he should be okay. Maybe Joe can just help you through.
StreamYard loves Chrome the most. So, unfortunately, it's actually really easy. It's just a little bit difficult with phones if you don't have a computer or anything like that.
It says I can join without mic and cam. You got to give them the wrong link.
You can try. But unfortunately, if there's any sort of feedback, we'll have to drop you because that's what people are going to hear. Now, if you can turn off your mic, maybe just put your headphones on, and maybe then it will allow you. Because then there won't be a feedback. Try that maybe. With just shut the mic part of it off, or use the one headphone.
Oh, because he has earbuds.
Yes,
he's got a mic on it. That's why it's saying it.
Well, I have them. I don't have problems. I think it just depends on the phone. So yeah, getting back to being struck by lightning, Baba Vanga. If you guys research her,
I love her.
Some of the research she has done has been like, Bride of Frankenstein look, yeah. But she has done some of the most unbelievable predictions, and a lot of them have happened. And she has predicted things all the way into like the year
Now.
8,500.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of craziness. Oh, there's Dave. Okay, device not connected though, Dave. So, to be known, you're this little old lady, and to be known as one of the biggest phenomena of our age is unbelievable. And she basically ended up, the government would use her also. Like she was a seer for like pretty high up people. That's how credible she was, and it all stemmed from being hit by lightning.
I love her. I
She's amazing.
researched her a long time ago, and I was just so fascinated by her predictions, and just incredible, and very spiritual woman as well. And
you can imagine the things that she sees, though, or
bed.
she saw. She passed in the 1987, I think. But I mean, you can imagine to have that sort of ability, the things that you would be seeing. I'm backstage. Okay. It says device not connected. They will need to connect their mic and cam before you can add them. Okay. So when you're here, just go down. Yeah. For cam and mic, this is really not working for cam and mic. That's because the setting is right here once you're in backstage, you click on the cam and mic. You have to turn it on for your phone.
Yeah, it has it at the bottom.
Yeah, it's right here at the bottom.
Green room, and you can see us, and then you see at the bottom it says mute, stop cam mic. You have to go right there. That little
edit mic disc. Settings, edit name, edit mic. Yeah, it's not letting me edit the mic settings for you. Unfortunately, you'll have to do that. And your mic is showing turned off. Yes, I clicked them. It's not connected. This is so bizarre.
This is really weird.
I know, Joe. Any ideas if he's in studio? Now it's saying browsers blocked it.
Oh, poor Dave.
I would say download Firefox and try that if you can get that app. Just try that. Chrome is just being. I just find it's being really silly considering how much StreamYard loves it. It's just.
I know it usually works good with Chrome. It's one of its favorite things.
I wonder if there's an issue because he's got new earbuds plugged into his phone. If one's overriding the other. The phone doesn't want to connect, just for shits and giggles, unplug the earbuds, and let's just see.
Hang on. Okay, yeah, no problem.
Okay,
no
Dave.
problem.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Phones are hard, but yeah. I mean, we have guests that use them, and they don't really have a whole lot of problems. So maybe the issue is using something else altogether, but that's okay. We have time. We can definitely play around with this.
Yeah.
We have some time. It's not like we don't have them. I unplugged them. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. And now add to the stream. Okay. So there you are.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Hello.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Woo-hoo.
Oh,
all right.
wow.
So
I wonder sorry you had such a rough time of it today.
I wonder if you could turn your cam on now if you wanted to.
Okay, well, the good news is the worst case scenario is that we'll just have to talk without video. I'm trying to get video.
That's okay. That's okay. But can you see the screen and everything? So this way here you can go through your charts and such.
That's a lot of feedback.
We're getting the back.
Can you guys say that again?
Yeah, see, we're getting the feedback. Just say, can you see the screen?
Okay, that's because I don't have the
Try putting the earbuds in now that you're actually in the studio.
Okay.
Just the earbuds. Just to eliminate the back.
Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Wow. Okay.
No echo. See that?
I guess the key is just getting you in here first.
Yeah.
But that's okay. As long as you can see the screen, because once we start working with your slideshow, you're going to need to be able to see it and explain what's going on, right? So before we get to that, as long as you're settled, we can definitely get started with the interview. Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, let let me try to put the cam on now that I'm in.
All right. And gone, not connected. Take the cam off. Take the cam off. So, it's going to be one of those shows. I have a feeling it's just going to be one of those shows. It's not going to work with you. I think you're going to have to just do audio, and you can use your earbuds so we don't get feedback. But again, as long as you can see the screen, Dave, just so we can go through your slideshow, because Dave has included quite a bit of photos and graphs that he's done. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun for those astrology buffs. Mm-hmm. And of course, we are going to talk or try to get Dave back on and talk about a little bit about his part of the Oak Island research. So that will be fun because everybody loves the Curse of Oak Island. And he has partaken a little bit in that. So there he is. No, device not connected. You just disconnect everything again, Dave. Just to come in, and then when you come back in, you can plug your earbuds back in, and we're going to leave that right there because we do have to sort of get on with things. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm going to bring you in. Okay. 1 second. I can't bring you in. Add to the stream. Okay. Now you can plug your earbuds back in. Your mic is off. I'm just going to unmute. Yeah, your mic is off too. I can't even hear you. Can't unmute your guests because they chose to mute themselves. Okay, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay, how about now?
Yeah,
now
perfect.
Good. Do you have your earbuds back in?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Make sure your earbuds are in, and make sure you can see the screen. So once we get to your slideshow, you'll be able to explain everything, and we'll have to get the show on the road. So, thank you for joining us. I know it's a bit of a fiasco. Unfortunately, it's very hard to test this all beforehand because there is a show on before us
and
that needs to be completely offline before we can go ahead and, kick in our own show. But as long as we can hear you, it's fine. You're not the first that just does come in and doing audio. But what I'd like to do is get started on what I call humble beginnings. This is just the part of the show where the audience gets to know you a little bit, what you're all about, where you come from, and what led you to do the things that you're doing today, because you seem to be versed in a lot of really interesting things.
Okay, yeah, sounds good. You guys can hear me pretty well, right?
Absolutely. We hear you loud and clear.
Okay, I'm very thankful for that because I wasn't sure if we were going to even be able to get the audio, but I'm happy we're there.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I went to school for biology, and this was probably about 16 years ago. That's when I started. Right. And it kind of continued over the course of, a few different colleges, a few different years, and kind of way back when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to study. But what ended up happening was I kind of got to the wall and I said, all right, this traditional academic scheme is not working for me anymore. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to go find my own information. And I started to do a lot of research. I kind of, I started to read maybe alternative types of information just to try to, I really like to look at both sides of things. To me, that's the best way you're going to come up with a good answer.
No, I agree with you.
Is if you really have to. I mean, I know some people don't necessarily like doing that, but you can still hold your belief even if you're hearing information that contradicts you. It's not, that's something to me that the person has to work on. Anyone should be able to tell you any story and any information, and you should be able to come out on the other side with something. You don't have to believe it, but it's important to me.
It's good to have an open mind.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. So what I started to do, I guess in 2006, I took a course on cosmic evolution, actually out of Boston, college in Boston. And it was one of the best courses I've ever taken in my life. It took, it wasn't really a traditional science kind of, I guess, lesson plan. It really encompassed a lot of mystical topics in addition to what you might find in like astronomy, for instance, as opposed to astrology, which we'll get into that later. But so it was really refreshing. I was happy to kind of see that. And at the same time, I was taking a course on Greek and Roman mythology. And that was also one of the best courses I had ever taken. So this is back, I started biology, I've actually really always done biology since I'm really even elementary school. That was always the first thing I went to. So, and I would read, way outside of the curriculum. I had so many books back at my house, things that had nothing to do with the actual class. And I pick up and I read on my own time. And, I can even remember back in 5th grade, the teachers, they put up a diagram. There was some anatomical diagram they put up, obviously real basic because it's 5th grade, but I was, one of the people, that were the teachers, is supposed to be the experts and stuff. They said, well, they showed probably 4 or 5 things. They labeled them. And then I said, well, what's that one that's not labeled? And what's that one over there that's not labeled? And they actually didn't even know. So at that point I said, all right, I already have an interest that's way beyond. I need to keep pursuing that. So 2006, let's see. So all the way up through 2005, it was mostly biology, including all through high school. I took it very seriously. I got college credits and everything once I was out of high school for AP bio and stuff like that. And then when I hit 2006, that's when I started with the mythology and with, a lot of the astronomy stuff and some of the alternative stories that they don't really teach you in secondary school.
Right.
And some of those, it's actually really interesting. One of the first stories that to me was really eye-opening. I had a professor in Boston. He was teaching about actually it's called the Amanita muscaria mushroom. And it's a very, very, very hallucinogenic. It's probably, you guys probably know, it's the one with the red top and the white dots on it and everything. It's the one in the fairy tales everywhere that you see.
Right. Alice.
Okay, well,
it's real.
So yeah. So he started, and I've actually seen them in person in Alaska. I used to work in Alaska a lot, and I think I got some Alaska friends out there. Hey guys, how you doing? So there was they grow in tandem with a specific type of tree, and so you can always kind of find them underneath these trees. And I was just walking by, and I said, "Well, hey, that's that mushroom I learned about, I guess 10 years before." I mean, and of course I remembered it, but they figure very prominently in Russian mythology as well, and the shamanistic, all this stuff. And turns out that in ancient Greece they were I guess used in their ceremonies a lot. And I didn't hear, the only thing I'd ever heard about was some of the Greek gods and some of the basic stories. And he starts talking about hallucinogenics, and he calls them entheogens, which is something that you take into the body to get you closer.
Is that right? Similar to?
Yes, exactly.
That same sort of.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's the same kind of idea.
Right.
So anyway, that was like my introduction to the mystic side in 2006. And then after that, I actually, a couple of years later, 2008, I started traveling the country. And I live in the United States, in case the listeners don't know that. But I started traveling the United States, the lower 48 states. And I basically wanted to collect information that wasn't available in a classroom. Because like I said, I kind of feel like I capped out. I'm just like, this is not cutting it, guys. I know there's a lot of story I'm not being told. I want to get firsthand stories from people. So I started actually in Arizona back in 2008, and I started traveling to all the states by car. And at the first time, it was like the first wave. I did most of the southern states and a lot of the eastern states up the Atlantic seaboard. And then what I ended up doing was 2009, I kind of picked up on the second leg, and then I went the other way. I went out kind of to the Rockies, and then up towards Montana, and then out east from there. And by the end of 2009, I had been to all 48 of the lower states. And then a couple of years later, probably more than a few years later, I actually headed up to Alaska as the 49th. And then a few years after that, I went to Hawaii as the 50th. Now, this whole time, I was collecting information. Some people, and I'm not saying there's so many ways to do life, and I think it's great. People go out on the road and just kind of drive around and stuff. That was never what I was doing. I wanted to talk to local people. I wanted to learn about what they believed spiritually. I wanted to feel the land, which is something you guys could appreciate, I think.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You can't. Yeah, right. So if you go somewhere or if you read about somewhere and there's only so much information you can pick up. It's like one sense coming in, whereas if you go to the location, you feel you can literally feel the bedrock if you know what you're looking for, what you're trying to feel.
Mm-hmm.
The sun hits you differently, just the wind is different, everything. So it's so different everywhere you go in the world.
I agree.
And okay, so I guess I'll try to wrap this up because I want to get to the astrology material.
Okay.
That's okay. And no
I hope
one's
it's
rushing
interesting.
you.
I hope it's interesting to you guys.
It's okay.
Okay, so let's see. I kind of picked up along the way. I picked up a lot of the spirituality aspect after the biology. Biology was first, and then during these trips, I picked up the spirituality aspect. And by the time I got up to Alaska, this was 2012, which it's a huge day, a huge year rather, and for the Mayan calendar, but also for the way that I interpret in Western, tropical astrology, the way I interpret the cycle of time. I think they actually came pretty close to lining up actually in 2012. So I started to, when I was working in tourism, I did a lot of stuff with tourism. In my time off, what I did was, I would spend a lot of time outside. Alaska's beautiful, but I went to the library, one of the local libraries, and I remember, I'll never forget it. I picked up my first book about the chakra systems, which is of course your spine and the spinal cord and the spine and the nerves that are associated with it. And what I ended up doing was I picked up a few more of those books, and I found out that there's something really interesting going on here that I had never been exposed to. Now, in my biology courses, of course, I live in the United States. We live in the Western world. They don't talk about these things.
Right.
And to not even as like an introduction. And to me, I wanted just to see it. And if I had seen it when I was back in high school, I would have started on that journey way back. So I started to pick that up. And then, let's see, it would have been about 3 years later. I read a lot about shamanism too during that time. And then 3 years after that, I was introduced to astrology for the first time. This was 2015. And I was looking for information about biology. I was looking for information about the spinal cord fluid. It's a very, very, there's a lot of secret information that's associated with the human body. I'll put it that way. That they knew in India, they knew in China, mostly in the East. I would also argue they knew it in the pre-kingdom Egypt before any of the pharaohs were there. And really what's happened is that through the centuries, it's just gotten watered down so much that it's so hard to understand. First of all, what is even real? If they connect, how do they connect? It's a huge, huge puzzle to try to put together.
Oh, I can imagine.
So this person who taught me astrology, and I actually like to send a shout out to him because I'm so appreciative for his work. His name is Santos Bonacci. He's based out of Australia. He's doing a lot of revolutionary work in many different fields. I would encourage anyone to check him out on YouTube for sure.
Oh, fantastic.
And he's got a lot of other pages and websites and things too. But the information I found about the spinal cord fluid was from his YouTube channel. And I actually found exactly what I was looking for. I couldn't believe what I was listening to and watching. Everything kind of just started to make sense instantaneously. I just wished I'd seen it 10 years earlier. And on the side, on his channel, he had some other videos about astrology. And I said, you know what? Maybe it's time I take a second look at this topic because I've never spent time with it. And he did such a good job on his first video that I said, I respect him so much. I said, I'm going to listen to him. I'm going to give him my time. I'm going to listen to what he has to say about astrology. So then I started to watch astrology videos. And I said, at the end of that, I said, this is actually repeatable. This is something that I could actually see if it's scientific at all. And I took, I did my own birth chart. I started to do my friends and family. I did their birth charts. And then I said, you know what, after doing like 20 or 30 of them, I said, you know what, this is actually real. There's something seriously real going on here. And I had no idea what to even think about it. And then later on down the line, I said, well, okay, I guess it's something that the ancient people did. I have so much respect for what their knowledge base was and what they were able to accomplish. So I just started to add it to the tools that I had to understand the ancient world and to understand spirituality and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have a good, solid base in let's say like the way that biology is taught in North America, or let's just say the West, and then you pick up the teachings of biology from the East, which would include India and China and a little bit from Egypt, but it's so much of that text is just gone. Unfortunately, we have to kind of pick up pieces and look at the hieroglyphics and the pictures and all that stuff. But I know they knew the same thing at some point. I'll put it that way. And it's somewhere along the line, it was just it disappeared, whether it was because of a conquest or because people lost interest in it. It's hard to say. Over hundreds or thousands of years, you get people coming in that try to change the narrative. They change their pantheon of gods multiple times. They picked up the mummification. It's just, it's so hard, really, truly, it's so hard to understand the timeline. And I spent a lot of time with it. And what I just decided at the end was that, all right, I'm going to just take the things that I know that work, and I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna have that as my bedrock, and then the rest of the stuff as it comes in later, I kind of always keep it on the back burner. Things that are interesting to me and things that I think maybe one day I'll get more information, I can put it together. That stuff's always on the back burner. So that's kind of the basic trajectory. And I've been doing astrology for almost 7 years. I've done, thousands of charts. I really can't even count.
That sounds exciting.
And it gets to a point.
That's the core of the person, isn't it? Astrology. It really
astrology.
Is the core.
Astrology is basically you associate meaning with the stars and the planets based on their positioning and, of course, the time of year and the time of different cycles and things of that nature. Where you are in precession, all this kind of stuff. And so astronomy says, all right, we agree with you. We agree that this is the angle. They'll be down there with their telescopes and when they're, not just telescopes, it's much more involved scientific instruments, but they'll be down there measuring the angles relative to where we're actually viewing it from, which is Earth. And so you see Jupiter rise, you see it up there at 11 p.m. or whatever it is. And depending on where you are on the Earth, the angle is actually going to be different of really everything. It's different for the stars, it's different for the planets. And that's why when you do a birth chart, you need the place of birth. Because without that, you're not going to get your proper angles. And astrology it's 100% based on angles. It's extremely mathematical. And it's very, very scientific if you're doing it right. If you truly know what you're doing. And I approached it as a science. I never approached it as this is interesting. Let me do this. So my perspective is very different. And it was very hard to prove to me that it was real until after 50, 60 charts, I said, well, what is going on here? This is really strange. I might not have liked it. And I know some people are resistant to it and they might say, oh, that's ridiculous. Maybe they've read the horoscopes and say, these are not accurate or whatever it is.
The generic horoscope. Yeah.
Right. But the thing is that it's, what'd you say, Amelia? Disappointing?
Horoscopes are so disappointing. I'm talking about the ones, that you pick up in a newspaper and a magazine, not someone that you actually sit down and they actually know what they're doing, right?
So I had a whole book done.
Yeah.
That basically, talks about everything about you. Your rising sun, your rising moon, this. There's a lot to it. It is a science, isn't it?
You guys broke up a little bit. I didn't hear all of that.
We seem to have a delay with you as well. It's okay. We'll just move on. So it really is a little bit of a science. I had read it was a whole book that was given to me as a gift, and I was just like amazed at all the information that was in there. So, do you want to delve into the charts? Like you've sent over charts here to look at. Do you want to start there?
Yeah, we can pull up the slideshow. Yeah, that sounds good.
Slideshow, perfect. Whenever you're ready, please, and thank you so much. There we go. All right. So can you see that okay, Dave?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see it well enough.
Okay, perfect. So we'll let you
that's great.
take over from here and let us know when you need it switched to the next photo.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, and since today is the fall equinox,
Yes.
I'm just overjoyed to be on the show today because it's the perfect time to talk about astrology.
Perfect. Can't wait.
So thank you guys for that, for sure.
Thank you for being here.
It's our pleasure.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it's about to get a lot more exciting too. That was just kind of the intro.
But excitement after this day.
Okay, so the basic shape, and this is one of the. It's a motif in the ancient world. Of course, it's the circle. Anytime you see the circle, at least for me, anytime I see the circle, I immediately go to the zodiac, which is where the 12 signs are. It's in the shape of a circle. Now, this particular picture that you're seeing right here is, we'll get to the zodiac in a minute, but this is actually just showing you where the equinoxes are located, where the solstices are located. And of course, over on the I guess it'll be the right side, it says fall equinox, at least my right side. Fall equinox, and you see it's right on that center line that cuts across the circle. And so the fall equinox it's the moment of time, it's a moment of the year, one of two, because there's a spring equinox too, that the amount of daylight hours is equal to the amount of nighttime hours. And the word equinox, it really means equal. Nox means night, so it means equal night. And it's really the balance point of the year. It's associated. You'll see as we move on the slideshow, but you'll see it's associated with the equator. And today, the sun is directly over the equator, and it's a very, very, very sacred day. And in all of the world, you'll see people call it different things depending on what part of the world you're in. But it's the important part is to understand that it's talking about the same idea, which is that today is the equinox. It's equal day and equal night. Now that it gets very complex. It's really high level science. This is not even the astrology part of it. This is really just the astronomy part of it. But for instance, if someone pulled up their location and they said, okay, so this is the equinox today, why do I still have more day than I have night? And the reason for that is largely based on latitude and where the location is on latitude. And depending on if you're looking at, and this is a controversial topic too, but if you're looking at the sphere or the globe Earth model, I could explain it one way. If you're looking at the flat Earth model, I could explain it a different way.
Right.
I don't want to talk too much about flat Earth. I just want to say one thing, that in the ancient world, this was their model. It was based on a flat Earth that was stationary, and it was in the center. The geocentric model, of course. It's in the text of the Bible. It's in the text of the Quran, at minimum. And so all I have to say is, actually Santos Bonacci has a really good video, a few of them that have proofs for flat Earth. And it's just worth looking at just to compare them in your own head and just to think about it. It's just a really stimulating topic. But you'll see that the next slide, it's actually going to be based on the Earth being in the center. Now, technically, the Earth doesn't have to be flat if it's in the center. It could still be a globe. So there's so many variations, and you really have to go back in history and try to decide for yourself what you believe. But actually, if you guys could just go back to the first slide, I want to finish with that a little bit.
First one, Joe. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Joe. All right, so anyway, over on the right side, you see the fall equinox. And what starts happening is that, well, first of all, you will have noticed since the summer solstice that the sun is not as high in the sky. Right. And so each day there's less light, and it's also not as high, which means you're not getting as direct sunlight, which means I thought about this a lot this summer, actually, because I live in the South right now. But when you go outside on the summer solstice, the sun is absolutely merciless. It is, even if it's like 80 or 85 degrees, it feels extremely hot on your skin.
Mm-hmm.
The air temperature might be not as high as it would be in August, say,
Mm-hmm.
but the rays, this is what I believe, the rays, and I'm sure this could be measured, are going to be more intense because the sun is a lot higher
Mm-hmm.
than it is in August. Like June 21st, it's way higher in the sky.
Right. Right.
So, okay, so going back to fall equinox, actually, even from the day after, or the moment after the summer solstice happens, which is around June 21st each year,
Mm-hmm.
what ends up happening is the sun starts to, in some of the mythologies, it's called the death of the sun. So it's
Right.
slowly
Right.
losing light,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to the fall equinox, and now you have equal light equinox. But
Mhm.
when you go into the quadrant beneath that, and this actually is really interesting because we're approaching Halloween and stuff like. I know you guys like Halloween a lot.
I know it.
Just
a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Well, the day of Halloween is really, really close to the center of Scorpio. And also the Day of the Dead, which is what, the 2nd or 1st of November or something like that. I'm sure someone knows out there.
The
Right.
second. Yeah.
Right.
It is
So
November
that's
1st.
so those they're like 2 days.
Because All Saints Day and the Day of the
Okay.
Dead.
The Day of
One's
the Dead
one's
is
one,
the first,
one's the
isn't it?
other.
One's the
don't know.
first, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So in any case, that it's within a few days, like 3 or 4 days from the very center of Scorpio.
Right.
Which actually, if you see that the next line that I drew, it's going to be hard to point out, but going down from the fall equinox, that line that cuts through that quarter right there.
Mhm.
And of course, if you drew a cross across this circle, each of those quarters is a season. It's one of the seasons. So the bottom right is the fall, and right in the center where I drew that line is called the cross quarter day, and that's really close to center Scorpio, and that's where Halloween is roughly. So anyway, the sun, and by the way, one of the reasons it's called fall is because you can see that the sun is falling down the zodiac. It's actually going down. You're going to get to the winter solstice. And now, before you get to the winter solstice, that whole quadrant is like it's really like the death quadrant, if I had to say that. This is when the sun is at least happy out of all the seasons, is in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's losing light every day. It's losing intensity. And that's called the death of the sun. Now, when you get to the winter solstice, which is right about December 21st, that's one of the days that's called the birth of the sun.
Right.
And the birth of the sun, and we know, Stonehenge and all these monuments, everyone knew about it. The birth of the sun, it happens on the 21st, but also you could say on the 25th, which of course is Christmas.
Right.
And what happens is, and this goes back to some of the the stories from the Bible and everything, that Jesus was in the tomb for 3 days.
Right.
Now I'm going to say, according to what I believe about numerology, I'm going to say he was in the tomb for 3.33 days, which is 33.
Right.
And and of course he also has that date associated with his lifespan.
Mm-hmm.
So on the 25th, the sun doesn't move for 3 days or 3 1/3 days, meaning that you're not gaining light, you're not losing light. But on the 25th, you start to gain light again.
Right.
That you can actually really measure it.
That's right.
Significantly. And that's the birth of the sun. And I'm not trying to be controversial. I just want to put it out there for people.
Yeah.
Exactly. But this is the sun in the sky.
Right.
And according to the story of Jesus, this is also the sun, S-O-N.
Right.
And that's why they match up on that day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Jesus, if people believed in Jesus, that he couldn't have been the one that set that up. That's absolutely possible. All I'm saying is that that's the same day.
Well, a lot of this even predates the Christianity too, right? So you're going back to ancient belief systems that predate some of that.
Not religion.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the first religions were based really on nature and animism and things like that.
Exactly.
And then I would argue, it's actually a really weird topic. It's going to get into the extraterrestrial topic at some point, probably the next show, I guess. But either humans came up with the religions, or they were given to humans by, in my opinion, higher beings or higher divinities.
Right, I agree.
Right. So it's it's a really, really, really interesting topic. But anyway, back to the circle here.
You never know. If we get through the slideshow, we just may get to it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm gonna speed up a little bit because I do want to get through all these pictures, and I'm more interested in questions really. But the basics kind of have to be nailed down first.
Absolutely. So the next picture then.
Well, in 1 second, I just want to finish this one. It'd be about another 45 seconds.
Okay.
So the entire the left half of the circle is called the birth of the sun.
Right.
The right side of the circle is called the death of the sun.
Right.
So the sun is born. One of the days the sun is born is on the 25th. Now you're coming up the other side, the left side, and you're going to get to the spring equinox. And the spring equinox is the other possible birthday of the sun. Right. And again, I can't get away from it just because they're so closely tied together. I'm talking about the sun and the sky, and I'm also talking about the rebirth in for Christianity, of course for Jesus. So that's why I wrote resurrection there. Easter is associated with the spring equinox. Passover is associated with the spring equinox.
Right.
So that's the day when now you're getting more sunlight than you're getting darkness. So it's, in my opinion, it's between the spring equinox and the summer solstice. Those are the two most important days of the year for the sun.
Right. Okay.
So as you come up from the spring equinox, the sun's increasing in power, and that top left quadrant are, in my opinion, again, are the luckiest signs of the zodiac. And that would be Aries, Taurus, and Gemini. They have the most positive natural energy because the sun is supporting them the entire way. It's always about increasing positive, good energy and good things.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so we can go to the next slide, I guess.
Next slide, please, Joe. Thank you. Here we go. Okay, it's a little.
Okay, and this is all making sense to you guys, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm
great.
I'm somewhat versed in the equinox and such. So yeah.
Okay, great.
Astrology is a whole.
Okay, so. Okay, I don't know if we can turn that one around. If we can't, it's okay. I'll still explain it. If we can turn it 90 degrees, but
I don't know.
This is the
Trinity just saved it. Yeah, we'll have to improvise. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. This is the ancient model of a solar system.
Right.
So, and by the way, there was a lot of consensus. The further back you go, the more consensus you're going to find.
Right.
And of course, as humans do, they tend to destroy information and manipulate it, and then they change it.
Right.
So it's another thing that's just so hard to figure out what it was. But in my opinion, this is the closest you're going to get to a good model of the solar system.
Okay.
And what you have is in the center is Earth. I'm not sure how well people would see that, but the very center is Earth. And above the Earth, and this is also described in the Bible and the Quran at minimum, it talks about the vaults, V-A-U-L-T, over Earth.
Wow.
And the vault is referring to the dome-shaped sky, essentially.
So it's almost like, is that going back to like flat Earth, like that theory?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Got it. Okay.
Yep, it's right in tandem with that for sure.
Okay.
And so there's going to be 10 spheres, according to the ancient model, and each of these spheres has a planet that's associated with it.
Right.
And by the way, and this is also the model I use when I talk about astrology, because I would argue this is the model that astrology is based on, that it was originally based on.
Okay.
I call Earth, like a base 10 dimension system, or base 10 planet system, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So as you're going up, now for astrology, the order is a little different than what astronomers accept it as. It's obviously a big point of contention, but I'm just going to show the model. I think most people know the traditional model, so I'm just going to show you the astrological model. And the astrological model, the moon is considered a planet. It's called the first heaven. It's directly the first vault above the Earth. And then it follows Mercury, Venus, Sun is in the fourth sphere. Then you have Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto or an object that's associated with Pluto. It doesn't have to be what scientists claim was Pluto, but it is in that sphere. Something is up there. I don't know if we found it yet.
Right.
And
Okay.
as you go up the spheres, it actually decreases in density, which we actually know. I mean, common sense, if you hike up to the top of a mountain, there's a lot less oxygen.
Correct.
And then if you leave the different atmospheres, there's just a vacuum.
Right.
So that's decreasing in density. And now when you go below the Earth, you're going to have, there's what's called the 10 planes. And it's very similar to what Dante talked about. There's the 10 planes of hell, which are, they're similar to Earth in some ways, is that it's again, this is the ancient model, so it's based on the plane. And planet comes from the word plane, which means
Right.
flat. I just want to get that out there for people, just to think about that. So as you go down, it actually increases in density. And each of these hells are supposed to be basically less mobility and less freedom the further down you go.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the as above, so below model. This is, in my opinion, the true model.
Right.
And you can see there's 10 above, 10 below. Earth in Norse mythology, it was called the Middle Earth or Midgard, because you see it's in the middle. They knew that there were things above it and there were places below it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we've kind of lost through the years, but that's that model.
Okay. So we're going to run out of time if we don't skip through these a little quicker.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I'm done with this one. We can.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
We can move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. I just want to make sure we get everything covered for you here. Okay. Go ahead. Next one.
Yep. Okay. We can. You guys have the next slide ready?
It's right there.
Okay. Great. Okay. So now this model, and you saw the model for the Earth. This model is the model actually of the human body.
Okay.
And what happens, the first time I saw this, I really absolutely couldn't believe it. I kind of randomly came across it on a Google image, but the human body, the human chakra system, also has 10 points. Now we know the bottom 7; those are the 7 chakras. Most people know the 7 colors going up the spine. And they're associated with the colors. They're also associated with a specific planet, and the planet they're associated with is the same. If you put the chart from the last one and this one together, they're the same on the same level, which means that if you're talking about the first chakra, you're talking about the moon.
Right.
You're talking about the second chakra, you're talking about Mercury.
Right.
And all the way up to Saturn.
Right. Right.
And by the way, and just to show you that how closely this has been thought out by ancient people, when you talk about Saturn was also called Chronos.
Yes.
And Chronos is crown.
Right.
It's time, but it's also crown.
Yes.
And the 7th chakra is the crown, of course.
Yes.
Okay, so as you go up past 7, now in the 8th sphere, you have what's called the mind. This is where all the mental activity happens. The first, it basically would be the first chakra above the head. That's the best way to look at it. So you got the mind, and this is actually where the zodiac disc that I'm about to show you guys, that's where this exists. It exists in the 8th sphere. And in the 8th sphere is Uranus, and Uranus rules the fixed stars. So all the constellations are being led by Uranus. Uranus is watching over them. They're all in the 8th sphere. The 9th sphere is called the dream world. And the dream world is ruled by Neptune.
Right.
I came across something really interesting last week that talks about the 9th sphere being, well, it's called the crystalline sea. That's first off. The crystalline sea, and again, it goes straight to the Bible. There are descriptions of what was seen by some of the prophets who were supposedly taken off of Earth and shown how the Earth system works, and they were shown the planets and the stars and all these things. In the description, I think it might be Ezekiel, actually, but the description is that the crystalline sea was actually like a glass ceiling or like a glass ocean. So the way I think of that actually is more like a dimensional barrier.
Right.
And it's like a shimmering, portal kind of thing.
Right. Right.
The 10th sphere is where you find the creators of the solar system. And it's also where you find freedom from astrology and freedom from everything. I mean, you're literally free to move as you'd like through the universe once you get up to the 10th sphere.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, that's it for that slide.
All right. Next slide, please. Thank you. Ooh.
Oh.
Okay, now this slide, of course, I didn't draw that in case anyone's wondering.
I said that's very good, very talented.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I have so much respect.
Skies of Mexico perfectly.
Right. I have so much respect for artists. I know there's plenty of people that could draw that to look exactly like that, and it's amazing to me that humans can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is called El Castillo. It's Chichen Itza. It's on the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, just like Amelia said.
Right.
And what this is, it's proof that on the other side of the world, because the models that I've just been going over really was established very well over on the other side of the world, which would be, I would say, Egypt, Middle East, and then Europe. Right. At the end, it probably moved up into Europe. Right. So this is on the opposite side of the world. And we can see that there's 10 platforms. And not only are there 10 platforms, but there are 91 steps on each side of the pyramid.
Right.
Which in addition to the top platform makes 365, which is, of course, the length of the year.
Right.
And also on the pyramid, they were celebrating the equinoxes. That's when Kukulkan comes down from the top. And you can see it. The sun shines on the balustrade and it makes the serpent coming down on the staircase.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. So they basically, that is the model of the solar system. And they put it there in the form of a temple.
How did they know?
Genius.
Right? How did
they know? How did they know, you said?
Yeah.
Well, most people, I would say most people that go really far into these topics end up with the question of visitors from the stars or, sky gods, whatever you want to call them. And most people will tell you themselves that that's who gave them the information. So, I would have loved to seen exactly how they did it. All I know is that that's an accurate model. No one ever talks about how there's 10 platforms on it. The only thing I hear about is the 91 steps, which make the year, 365.
You're right about that. I never heard the 10 platforms.
Exactly. Because if someone hasn't studied the traditions from the Mediterranean area, where they heavily talk about the spheres and they show 10 spheres, then why would anyone be thinking about that in Mexico? Except for the fact that what I believe and what actually a lot of people believe, again, who study this really in depth, is that there was at one point, or probably many points, there was a worldwide culture and there was exchange of information across the world. How people did that, I don't know. I have my ideas. But you're seeing the same thing showing up on both sides of the world. So something happened. Okay, that's good for that one.
Okay, next one, please.
Wow.
Okay, now this one is one of the most important slides because it's what's called the ecliptic. And the ecliptic shows you the path of the sun throughout the year. And you see the midline is actually the equator. So you'll see above that there's a dome, and beneath that there's a dome. And the center is the equator. And actually right in the center, the very center of that picture, there's a little dot, and that's actually the fall equinox. And what happens, if people have looked at maps before, of course, I'm sure a lot of people have tuned into the fact that there's something called the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Yes. And they're each at 23.5 degrees north or south of the equator. Well, the reason that they're called that is because the constellation of Cancer, you'll see, is at the very top of that left dome that I drew. You see Cancer at the very top there.
Right.
So it's just showing you that that's where it belongs on the ecliptic, right over the Tropic of. That's where Cancer is on the Earth, according to the ecliptic. And then if you go to the if you go further down south of that into obviously the east side or to the right, you end up at the Tropic of Capricorn, which you'll see Capricorn is also at the bottom. It's associated with the zodiac sign. And that's just that sine wave. The sun moves in the sine wave like that. The sine wave is it's the path of the sun. So that's 365 days that you're seeing. And each of the 12 signs is part of that. It's a pie piece, part of that
Mhm.
dome on both sides. So that's how you get the zodiac. This is the picture that I would say people need to understand first. This is where the circle zodiac comes from. It comes from a sine wave first.
Hmm.
And then I would say, for simplicity's sake, it ends up being a circle as a zodiac. But that's how it moves in this picture.
Excellent. Wow. Who knew? That's interesting. All right. Next one.
Yep.
Please. Okay. It's upside down. Jesus.
You can't change anything.
Okay.
Okay, that's
'Cause
okay.
I asked him before. He said he
that's
can't change them.
That's okay. That is what it is. We're upside down. Just give us maybe a generic. I don't know why it's upside down. It's crazy. That's not how I sent it. So
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, just give us a generic, I guess.
Okay, so over on the far left side is this was
We see Pisces.
Okay, it is upside
we
down.
See Libra. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's very.
All right, so basically pretend like I didn't draw anything. There's no words on that. Just look
Okay.
at the shape of the circle and the different
Right.
wedges.
Right.
On the very far left side is going to be right at the spring equinox is Aries.
Right.
And then you have Taurus and Gemini. That's the
Right.
first quadrant. That's the spring quadrant.
Right.
Top right is going to be the summer quadrant, which is Cancer, Leo, and Virgo.
Okay.
Bottom left is Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. That's the fall. And then the bottom left is Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces, which is the winter quadrant of the
Okay.
year.
Okay.
So that's the best way to actually draw it. If you want to look at it in front of you, is you always want to have Aries to the left, which is the beginning of everything. Aries kicks everything off on the spring equinox. That's really where you should start. Best place to start the year. In fact, you can see a little vestige of this because if you look at the names of the months, and the months are associated with the 12 signs, but it's associated with the moon. Month and moon is essentially the same, MON. So it's
Okay.
talking about the moon.
Okay.
What happened through history, again, is that humans said, okay, I'm going to change this either for my benefit or I'm going to change it possibly to deceive people so that we know the power days, but they don't know the power days. All stuff like this happened.
Right.
You can see if you actually start the year in March, which is when Aries is, you end up, say that's the first month of the year. Taurus is second, Gemini is third, fourth is Cancer, fifth is Leo, sixth is Virgo.
Right.
Did I go off one of those? September. Okay, yeah, no, I did it right. September would end up being Libra,
right.
which is, of course, where we are right now. And September is indicating Sept, which is 7.
Mm-hmm.
So the original year, according to the Sept, it's actually Sept, Oct, Nov, and Dece, December. It's telling you it's the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th month. And the only way that makes sense is if you start the year in March, which is
Yeah.
the equinox, which is
Right.
where you should be starting.
Of course, I was born in March. You should be starting in March. Just saying.
You're right. You're right.
Mm.
Most messed up sign of the entire. So yeah, but anyway.
Oh, we can talk about the signs when if you guys want specific questions, we can talk all about that once we do the slideshow. But each sign has positive and negative. There's the whole world down here. The whole physical world is dualistic, so it's never one thing. It's potential to be both things on both sides. That's how it's been set up in the physical world. It's not that way in some of the higher dimensions.
Right.
Right. Okay, so
Next
you see the
slide.
12 signs.
Oh.
I wrote, well, you're not going to see it because it's upside down, but the first sign of the season is called the cardinal sign. The second sign of the season is called the fixed sign. The third sign of the season is called the mutable sign. And it's just indicating, cardinal is the leader that kicks everything off. Fixed is they're not going to move. They're right in the middle. They're not going to move. And by the way, the most stubborn signs are the fixed signs. So if you know Taurus, a Leo, a Scorpio, or an Aquarius, good luck in trying to get them to do something that they don't want to do.
Right. I believe that. I'm a Taurus, and I'm pretty stubborn too. Well, I don't know where our slideshow went, Joe. It's completely gone.
That's fine. I'm going to keep talking about it. I've got in front of me.
Okay.
So all 12 signs, you've got the the different types of signs, which is cardinal, fixed, and mutable. Now, each of the 12 signs is ruled by a specific planet.
Right.
Leo is ruled by the sun. Cancer is ruled by the moon. Those are the only two that, and Leo is the male archetype in the sky. Cancer is the female archetype in the sky. It's the sun and the moon. That's probably the oldest teaching from astrology about the sun and the moon. And then the rest of the signs, the 10 signs, have there's a specific planet that actually rules 2 different signs. So Mercury has 2 signs it rules: Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. They each have 2 signs instead of 1 sign.
Okay, I have to actually stop you here for a moment because we are already at the 10:30 mark, which is the station ID and sponsor ID. So
thank
go
you
ahead.
so much, Michelle. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and myself, Amelia Pisano. Our special guest tonight is Dave Petrella. We're talking all astrology around the world and a little bit of ancient civilizations to bring in a little bit more conversation and explanation. We are live in the beautiful city of New Orleans, 105.3 FM radio, streaming for you on International Public Radio. We will be coming back on UFO Paranormal Radio and UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, UPRN Talk Radio. And tonight and every night, we are fully sponsored by the amazing folks at Folgers Coffee. Thank you, Folgers, for your support. We love you.
And thank you, Dr. Snick, for the new intro and outro.
Yes.
I'm loving that. Okay. So if we can move on to the next, we are really narrowing down. We're not going to be able to get through too much more otherwise. Electromagnetic spectrum, Dave.
Okay. Yep. So we'll come back to it, obviously when people have questions and things, but I just want to move off of astrology for a second.
They'll put it in chat for sure.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the spirit world because there's so many things that lie on top of each other in terms of teachings and traditions, and they all kind of work together, but it's hard sometimes to place it what is actually going on specifically scientifically. So I've been thinking about this since the beginning of my research, which is, again, electromagnetic spectrum is something you learn in high school. It's about light, basically. So that one, okay, no, that's the right one. All right. Well, if you turn that picture 90 degrees, you'll see that in the middle of it is the visible light spectrum, which is the 7 colors of the rainbow. And when we open our eyes, that's what we see. So what you're seeing is in a very, very, very narrow band of the light waves that are actually present. So I started thinking way back. I said, well, if you could see infrared, what would actually be there? Or if you could see UV, what would you actually see there? And, for instance, there are some, I know supposedly bees can see UV light. And, I mean, for all I know, and for all, I guess all of us know, there might be animals that can actually see in these different spectrums.
It's believed so, yeah. Yeah.
So exactly. So if you see your dog or your cat looking at the ceiling and you look up, there's nothing there, but they're like following it with their head, like it's actually moving up there. I'm betting that they're actually seeing something. And my explanation for that would be, if you go to the right, well, if you flip that, the next highest waves up from visible is UV, then you have X-ray, then you have gamma ray. And of course the sun emits gamma rays. It's, can be very, very hazardous. UV obviously too. That's all the really high energy. And then the lower energy than the visible light we see is the infrared, microwave, and radio waves.
Right.
So what I did is I just split that up basically to heaven and hell. And if you were able to see UV, let's say that there's a being or someone that exists, but they're not made of visible light, they're made of UV light. So they're standing next to you in the room. It's probably like an angel or something. So it's a positive being, but you can't see them, but you can feel them.
Right.
I mean, that could even, honestly, it could even be a relative. It could be a lot of different options.
Right.
If you're going up in energy, my argument would be that you actually, the higher the energy, the more detail you can fit in. the more detail it allows for. And when you have more detail, you can allow for, it's like a getting closer to like a needle point. If you can have all of your energy on a needle point, it's extremely organized and extremely powerful. And that's kind of what you're looking at when you go that side. And on the contrary, when you go the other way, what I would say is that a lot of the ghosts and some of the demonic energies and some of the alien energies are going to be lower energy. It's going to be beneath visible light. But depending on the amplitude of the wave and the strength of that actual wave, they can still be very powerful.
Right.
Which I'm sure you guys could comment on in terms of being able to sense different entities and areas. And some of them are a lot more powerful than humans.
Oh, yeah, you won't get an argument there. But again, that's, that can go in a whole lot of different directions. I don't want to take away from where you're going with it.
We can go to the next slide. I'm ready to move on if you guys.
Yeah, perfect. Next one. There we go. Look, it's right side and everything. It's great.
We're going to get through it. We're almost there. There's only a couple left. Only 2 left. This one I don't really need to say a lot about. It's actually right side up. Usually when you see the electromagnetic spectrum, it's laid out horizontally. So all you really have to do is just put it vertically. And now you also have the same model that lines up with all the other models that I've shown tonight. And you see Earth is in the middle, it's visible light. And the heavens, and again, according to the sphere model that I showed earlier, the heavens are above Earth, the hells are below Earth. And you're going to see that the higher up you go, the higher energy light. And what I would say is that there are beings that are made of these different types of light waves. So we can not see them unless they're in the visible spectrum. Some of them have the ability to actually either lower their energy or to increase their energy so they can appear in our spectrum. And some of them can do it at will. But for the ones that can or don't want to, they exist up in these UV and X-ray and gamma and infrared microwave radio. They have shapes, they have bodies, I would say. We can't see it if they're not in our spectrum, but we can feel it.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay. Last slide. I'm good at the last slide.
Okay, last slide, please and thank you. There we go. Oak Island. Oh yeah, here we go.
Okay, so I didn't mention some of the work that I did on Oak Island. I actually went there in 2017. I did some theory work. And I just want to talk about, we can talk about, with whatever time we have left, if that's what you guys want to talk about or the guests want to talk about. But I just want to show how Oak Island specifically fits into the models that I've been showing since the first slide. It's all the same model.
Absolutely.
This brings it, and it brings up a very, very interesting question, multiple questions about, specifically for me, about who created Oak Island, or who created this mystery and who created these flood tunnels and all these things. But let me just show you what I saw when I saw this model. And now this model, first of all, is also the model of the Enochian vaults, which were beneath the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem originally. Yes. And I think they touched on that in the 3rd or 4th season. I think
they did.
I believe they went to Scotland. They talk about that. So what I saw was, I said, all right, the first thing I'm keying into is that there were, let's just say there were 9 verified platforms. I'll leave that part of that for now.
Right.
But what I saw is that the distances between the platforms were 10 feet. So I'm thinking, okay, well, that's probably, with people who are very intelligent, whoever did it, they're kind of giving you like a ruler. And they're saying, pay attention to this, 10 feet right here. As you go down, just pay attention to the fact that this was 10 feet. So each of those are 10 feet distant from each other.
Okay.
And you see I drew the vault in the 4th one there just to show you, we don't really know because there's no pictures, there's limited evidence about what they saw when they were digging.
Yes.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they were actually vaulted above the platforms. That's kind of what I would expect from that to mimic the model of the solar system. So as you go down, you're going to get to eventually the 90-foot stone, which was at the 9th platform. And the 90-foot stone, of course, it said on it, one of the translations, and actually this is a translation from the 1965 article, Reader's Digest article. it said 10 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried. Some people have translated it differently. I think 40 feet below was one of the translations.
Right.
I'm just going with the big article that everyone read. It said 10 feet below, and
Right.
it actually kind of fits with what I'm about to describe. But the 90-foot level is also where you had the primary flood tunnel come in. So what they did, according to history, the documents that do exist, according to those documents, what they did was they were on the 9th platform.
Mm.
They picked up the stone, and of course, after they picked up the stone, it started to slowly flood. But if you go back to the model of the solar system, the 9th level is the level of Neptune. Now, this should be very interesting because Neptune was also called Poseidon.
Right.
And we know
That's
Poseidon
right.
is the god of the ocean.
That's right.
So here it is they said, all right, well, we're going to make sure the ocean is associated with this 9th level. So they lift up this stone and all the water comes flooding in. Before they did that, or before they lifted it up completely, I believe they took some like rebar and they actually were probing beneath the 9th platform and they hit something at 98 feet. I think they thought it was actually the top of a treasure chest, which, by the way, is also vaulted. It's also like a dome. So, and that fits the model too. And I'm betting that whatever it was sitting on that 10th platform, but you couldn't get to it if you just picked up the stone, because the whole point of, and actually the whole point of astrology, I don't know how much time we'll have for that, but the 9th sphere is your dimensional barrier. So if you want to leave the solar system, you have to find a way to get out of the 9th sphere. So it's basically translating that into the money pit model, which is also the Enochian vault model. And all of it is the model. It's the model of a solar system, which, you know, it's the most basic. Before all the religions existed, of course, we had the natural world, and the planets were put in their orbits specifically, and all this stuff was already put up there. So when you want to go back to base knowledge, I always say go back to as above, so below, which in its most basic form is this form. It's the 10 levels.
Who in your opinion would have the knowledge to build something like that?
Well, I thought about it a lot, obviously, and I think there's a lot of groups that people talk about that had the knowledge, at least the theoretical knowledge. They understood the solar system model, which it's also the model of your chakra system. You know, everyone don't forget that. It's the same model, 10. No matter which model you're looking at. I think that groups like, a lot of people talk about, well, the Templars, obviously a hot topic on Oak Island.
Yeah.
I believe for sure they would have known this model, for sure. The Rosicrucians would have known this model, and also the Freemasons would have known this model.
Yes.
So in terms of who created it, it had to be, in my opinion, had to be someone that knew the ancient teachings. It's not going to be someone just, you have a shipwreck and you're like, well, I'm just going to bury everything down here.
No, that would have taken a lot of premeditated planning, because it was very well thought out. But if your theory is correct, then, you know, that would be a lot of ancient knowledge. There is a comment. If Amelia, did you want to get that one from Facebook?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. Carrie Langdoc, I can't see her whole name. Sorry. The Lagunas went to Rennes-le-Château in Languedoc, southern France, and to Rosalind Chapel in Scotland. Oh, it just moved, Joe. Sorry.
Sorry, that was me.
Yeah. Okay. Chapel in Scotland with my friend, author Kathleen McGowan, and friend Toby Dobler of Knights Templar.
Right. Yeah.
I've been to both places. Also amazing location. Oh, that's Michelle.
That's me.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, they're fascinating locations. You know, the mysteries and the codes and all the clues that are left in both locations we really have to see them to really believe them and get an understanding of them. So this was your take on Oak Island. Did you present this to them, or is this just something that you've theorized working?
Well, this particular model was it really kind of, it goes to the core of the theory. There were other things I did. Some of the things are still potentially in progress. I can't specifically talk about other parts of it. However, all these platforms have been destroyed. So there's no way to even get down there and to see if that's true or not.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's one of the things that I came there with initially, because it's what I study and it's what I do. I mean, this is basic astrology. It's basic Eastern tradition knowledge of the human body.
Mm-hmm.
And you can flip it. It's on the top side, it's on the bottom side. You're either going up or you're going down.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always the 10.
Right.
So,
right.
Even something like this, it's not going to help anyone necessarily to find the treasure if it's in the money pit, because everything's been destroyed and flooded, and it's been backfilled many times.
Right.
So you can't even, really do anything with it. And I just think it's something that people should see, because, again, this is the basic model of the solar system. So someone really knew. I mean, I'll just throw this out there just for the heck of it.
No, of course.
I don't want to. I'm not trying to stir up conspiracies or anything like that.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay.
But
have fun with it.
Okay. Well, there was there's a possibility that the money pit story was fabricated to basically make some money.
Right.
Now, some of the stories associated with that, the reason I'm saying that, has to do mostly with the 90-foot stone, which was displayed in Halifax for a while. And it said, if you want to help with the search, feel free to donate to the cause and everything like that. And they put the stone out there so you could see it. Well, all I'm saying is that, and I don't know, and I'm not trying to bury any person or group, or it doesn't matter to me. All I'm saying is that we don't have any pictures of the platforms. We don't have literally any proof that there were platforms even to begin with. So if someone was going to fabricate something and they wanted to model it after the Enochian vaults, this would be the way to do it. We could say, hey, say we found a stone at 90 feet, but maybe there wasn't actually a stone down there. We just don't know.
We don't know for sure. No. To finish off, Carrie, did you want to finish off her last comment, that we can go to Wayne's questions, Amelia?
Sure. Carrie, I can't even see that. Microcosm?
Yeah.
Through microcosm, factual universe. Impressed Dave has followed all areas I have and tied all in, and he's much, much younger than me. Thanks, Carrie.
Nice.
Sorry.
I think that would be a kudos to you, Dave.
My screen is so far away. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's
there's a question from Wayne.
Okay.
There's a question and a comment. So I'll start with all of them. And then when I'm done, Dave, if you wouldn't mind responding to it. He is asking you, in your opinion, what planet in our solar system is the richest planet? Is it Saturn? In the old solar design, which planet number would that be? He's asking because he believes the entrance to the vault, he says, I think the entrance to the vault is above the 90-foot stone. It could coincide with another planet in the old solar system. Just a thought.
That's right. A side chamber that bypasses the flood tunnels.
Yeah, I called him a show off.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks guys for participating. I mean, this is great. Appreciate that. And to comment on the first comment, I've dedicated my entire life to this, and it's something where you also have to have some vision. It's not just like stale knowledge. You have to be able to try. So a lot of this stuff I've had to sit, in something you could call it a meditation, or you could call it prayer, you could call it whatever you want. Mm-hmm. But I've had to sit and just wait for it to come to me, or wait for it to be given to me. I'm not saying, everyone has their own opinions. I think it's great. People need to make up their own minds about things, but it really seems to fit really well with all of the traditional teachings if you just make it into an easy model. And of course, to do that, you have to know biology. You also have to know about the stars and the planets, which is actually not something that's very common at all. I don't think I've met another biologist that's an astrologer. It's a very, very, very rare thing.
Right.
And to answer you, what was Amelia? You said what was the richest planet?
He asked. Let me go back to it here. He asked, "Is the richest?" Let me start from the beginning. In his opinion, what planet in our solar system is the richest planet? Is it Saturn?
The richest. Okay, richest meaning.
We'll have to get him to type that in.
Okay.
He also made
I
a
know where
comment.
he's going with it. I know where he's
Okay.
going with it. Yeah, there's a lot of symbolism around that.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about spiritual riches, Saturn is the crown chakra, so that's correct for sure.
It's a lot.
But
there's a lot of symbolism around it too.
Yeah, he also made a comment that a side chamber that bypasses the flood tunnels.
Oh yeah, that could have been there. That could have for
Yeah.
sure been there. I mean, maybe the stone, if it was real, they said don't lift this because it's going to flood, and of course they couldn't even read it or interpret it, and they just took it off. And by the way, I just want to mention this so people can understand this too. When they lifted that stone, this was a Saturday. They came back on Sunday morning. From the story, it was after church, and it had flooded all the way up to 33 feet from the top of the money pit. So to add things onto this puzzle, everything way back when I first started researching, I said, how can everything possibly be this correct? They have all the proper numerology. They have all of the platforms where they need to be. And I'm like, how do you even engineer that? Even if you wanted it to flood to 33 feet within the top, how do you even make that happen? You're talking about tides from the ocean. I mean, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree. I don't know. To me, it's all very fascinating. It's just, it was genius, really. It's like, it really is. I love what they're doing with the show. I love everything. They're taking their time. Some people get really aggravated, but I love the whole archaeological part of it as well. I think preserving that history is really important, and they're really doing a good job with it. So I don't know. Any other questions? Carrie says it's called a download now in terms. Yes, this is true. So
and I agree with that, Michelle.
Yeah.
I just want to give credit to all the people on the island. I think they're doing a good job, really good job.
Okay, here's
also with preserving history and just making it a positive show and a good family show for people to get families together. Rick always talks about that.
That is true because you're teaching your kids history and you're learning with them and you're having conversations. That is a really good point. Wayne just finished his comment. He said, yes, that's what I mean. Rich in many ways, so that the rich planet would have a number. That's where I think the side tunnel would be. Just a thought.
Okay. Well, typically Saturn 7. However, if you look at pictures of Saturn, it does have a hexagon on the top of it. Which, if you want to go into some of the mysticism, you can talk about the hex associated with Saturn. Saturn is, now in the mythology, Saturn was he basically ate people, and the story of Kronos, he ate the young people. Really, what that's talking about, and a lot of these stories are many levels, but really what that's talking about is Saturn is in charge of the physical world. So Saturn rules carbon. By the way, the number of carbon is 666. That's a really important one.
See, the elite talking about work around the symbolism of Saturn, if I'm not mistaken. That's a whole other show, but
absolutely.
Everything you're saying ties right into that.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure. So in any case, Saturn is responsible for the physical world. He's responsible for matter, which gets very metaphysical very fast. But no planet is just good or bad. They're actually both, depending on the situation and depending the good attributes of Saturn are the discipline, the seriousness, to get things done and make sure things are in order. And the parts that are challenging are the fact that, Saturn's not showing any emotion. It's not really that interested in being overly emotional or dramatic or anything like that, or no flourishes or anything like that. But
Mm.
yeah, I would say generally to answer Wayne's question, I would say 7 for Saturn. However, I also keep 6 in my back pocket just because of the association with the hexagon and with 666.
Right. But 666, technically speaking, is just a representation. It goes back to Solomon, and it just means knowledge. Look that.
Oh, is that
Look that up, guys.
What did they say more about that, Michelle? Or how does that translate? Is it numerology for that part of it?
Well, basically, there was a man who did some research on that. Joe and I talked about that a little bit on the last Gray Zone show, and again, I'm a bit sketchy on it because it was just a very small part of a very big segment. But he dug in and found that it did go back. It was the number of a man of the time, which was Solomon, because Solomon was supposed to be the master of knowledge of his time. So it does tie in a little bit with numerology, but it also tied into a lot of different things that went into even the Bible, even beyond that. So there's so much research around it that I actually had to just like direct people to go over and look it up for themselves, because there's just no way we could touch on all of it unless we specifically did a segment just on it, to which we actually might, because it's a really fascinating topic. So definitely dig that up. It's amazing. People, you just
that's great.
Google it, like just play around with your words. 666, knowledge, King Solomon, and just see everything that comes up. You'll find it.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
Wayne says, "Thank you, Dave." Excuse me.
Sure, you're welcome, Wayne. Yep.
Yeah. So
if you flip now, I'll just add this really fast. If you flip 666 the other way, it's actually the number of God, which is 999.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you look at the model, that's the last step before you break through into the 10th sphere. You're sitting at 99 or 99, whatever it is, it's the same. Base 10. It's just below God. So I see these things and I say, wow, we at some point in the past, we really understood this extremely well.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. I just brought this up. So I will read to you a little bit of the notes that I have. Okay. And then you can kind of take it from there. It says, it's actually linked to the most sacred rituals of the Old Testament and to knowledge itself. This is 666. The quote was found in the book of Revelation and reads as follows: "Here is wisdom. Let him who hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666." Okay, so it was the number of King Solomon, a man known for amazing knowledge and understanding. The second phase of the book says, "Let him who have understanding." In the book of Kings, a similar phrase: "God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding exceedingly much." This was intended for Solomon. If you look up 666 in the biblical search engine, apparently it stops at Solomon. Then it goes, "Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 606 talents of gold." That's in the First Kings. So there's a lot of references that go back to the book of Ezra. And then of course, we enter the beast, and it talks about that a little bit. But it goes back because it goes number of the beast as opposed to beasts. Okay, because 666 is quoted as a number of the beasts, but it's supposed to be plural because it involves sacrifice on the anniversary of Passover. So there's a lot of stuff around it. I could only fit in a little bit of it, as you can imagine, because it would just be like, it just snowballs. So it's definitely something that I invite people to go in and search, because it's one of those things that, I guess you can put either way. But like you say, if you flip it, you have the number of God, whereas some people believe the number of God would be 777.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also legitimate too, for sure. I think through the millennia, there have just been so many associations that have been made, and a lot of them are actually correct depending on which framework you're working with. So if someone, I agree, Michelle, if someone came up to me, they said, "Oh, I think it's 777," I would say that's still accurate, because 7, of course, is the crown, it's the third eye. It's the seventh,
Right.
Seventh chakra. In terms of 666, I also think one of the associations with that too, like I said, it has to do with the physical body, and you're talking about carbon specifically. So some arguments actually say that the beast is actually the physical human body that needs to be translated into the divine form, which is not made out of carbon. I mean, carbon is a very low frequency material. Some people have talked about, I guess there's a relationship between silicon and carbon. I think they're really close to each other on the periodic table. But some of the people who talk about kind of the new age, they say, well, maybe we can have our bodies made out of silicon instead of carbon, and it's going to be like an upgrade. So I think a lot of these, maybe there's a world where there's like humans that are made out of silicon, or they're made out of gold instead of carbon. Literally, it's all limitless.
Parallel dimensions, multiverses. We could be made up of all kinds of things.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Technically speaking.
But I think it's important just to keep in mind, like, everyone has to work out for themselves what's going to work for them. What's going to work for their lives. If someone has had contact with the divine realm or something, and they feel strongly about a topic, I don't generally even challenge that, because that's their experience. That's what's going to be real for them.
Right.
I just try to bring understanding about, in my opinion, the closest we can get to a good model of how basically everything works on this planet. That's really what I'm after.
Right. No, I agree with you. Carrie, can you see her comment, or do you want me to say it?
Would you mind?
Okay.
Sorry.
Carrie Langdick, thank you for being so active in the chat tonight. She says 69 is overplayed and connected visually, appear as an 8 or infinity symbol, meaning as above, so below. Correct. 8 is symbol of the magician in tarot. Jesus being the master magician archetype. So also agrees with Dave on the chemistry and the physics. Thank you, Carrie. So
I can read Wayne's.
Yeah. Did you need me to repeat that, Dave, or did you get that?
Okay, so the actual question is, it's about the number 69, or it's about the number?
It's a statement. 69 is overplayed and connected visually, appears as an 8 or infinity symbol, meaning as above, so below.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. 8 is the symbol on the magician and the tarot, Jesus being the master magician archetype. And she agrees with you on chemistry and physics.
I've got 2 more comments to read before we go, because we're hitting really tight here.
Yeah.
Wayne
it's also the yin and the yang too, by the way.
Yep, absolutely.
Wayne Mallows wrote, in the last season, the guys were tracking a lateral tunnel running at the 80-foot depth. So 7 would be the closest to the 8th platform. And Zachman, so glad to see you back, Zach. He went through COVID. He's feeling much better.
Welcome back, Zachman.
Yeah. Great show tonight. Thank you, Dave, for joining us this evening and sharing your research with us. Have a good night, everybody, and see you tomorrow night.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Zach.
Take care, Zach. Thank you for joining in. So
thanks, Zach. Yep.
So is this something that you do? You say you do all these charts. Do you do charts for people? I'm just, this is a part of the show where you promote yourself or direct people to yourself, or just tell us all what you want us to know about you.
Okay. Well, I do a lot with the ancient knowledge, as everyone can see. It's distributed over many disciplines. And in fact, in the ancient world, you really kind of had to know as many as possible. And you want to see, the idea is you want to see the overlap between the different disciplines, not try to separate them.
Right.
But in any case, I am an astrologer. I've been doing astrology for 7 years. I've done thousands of birth charts. And one of the primary things I do, just because it's kind of like a go-to, if people have interest in astrology, I teach astrology. I can teach astrology, no problem. If people don't necessarily have interest in that, I also do birth charts, which is on the day you were born. There's a plan for your mind and for your body. It's basically, the way to think of it is, it's basically the sky at the moment you're born is literally stamped into your tissues of your body. And it's stamped into your mental structure, which is invisible.
Can I ask you a question, Dave? What if someone doesn't know what time they were born? So
Well,
do
if
you
you don't know the
require like
time,
the exact time, or if they say to you, I was born in the morning? Someone
well, I
asked
can.
me that today when I was out, because they're actually listening to the show, and they asked me that today when I was out. And I said, I really don't
Okay,
know,
great.
because I don't know much about that.
Well, I've sometimes I can try to make an educated guess as to the time. If they know it's within like a 2-hour bracket, sometimes I can get pretty close, and
Mm-hmm.
and the person would know because all of the 12, there's something that's called the 12 houses in astrology, and they're a counterpart to the signs, but they're different, and they represent facets of your life as opposed to signs, which is more like a primary types of energies.
Mm-hmm.
But to answer that, if you don't have the time, then you can't find the first house. And if you can't find the first house, you can't find any of the other houses.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had someone's day and year and location, I need a location too, but I didn't have the time, I can still find their sun and their moon.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the other planets should end up being very accurate.
Is there anything in astrology that, like for myself, I was born on the anniversary of my sister's death, only it was 17 years later, and 16 years later, sorry. And
Mhm.
she died on a Thursday at 8:00 in the morning, March 19th in 1953, and I was born March 19th, a Wednesday at 8:00 in the morning in 1969. I was just curious, do you ever get anything like that?
Well, that's really fantastic in terms of thinking about how that connects. Yeah, I have actually once or twice before, and one of the ways I can pull a lot of information out of that. Actually, one of the ways I can do that is that I pull up the planets where they were on the first date. If I was looking at the date of passing, I can pull up that date, and then I can pull up the birth date that's on that same day, of course, a different year. And I will literally put them side by side, and I'll see what I can see in there. And a lot of times, I mean, when you're talking astrology, you're talking very high level spirituality. It's not just this is my personality. This is this. It's literally what moment in time am I going to incarnate in order to either accomplish something. Sometimes it's for karma. Some people come here as protectors. Some people are just curious. There's literally so many reasons you might end up down here. But yeah, to me, that's actually extremely significant. And to see a lot more of that, I basically pull up both next to each other. And then I would want to know what that person is trying to see specifically.
Mm-hmm. Well, she was a baby when she passed away. She was 7 months old in Italy. And the reason why I'm so curious, we'll have to talk about this like off air, maybe through Facebook or something. And maybe, I just think it's crazy because my mother even thought it was so bizarre that she named me after her because she felt like it was a second coming kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
My mother was gifted as well. So, but
okay.
Yeah, just really strange. It's interesting to know other people have gone through it. I'm not the only, I've always felt crazy, like weird that happened.
Oh no, this is, to me, like it gets weird when if you don't think there's an order to it or a system to it. But if you really think about the intention of specifically the person that comes after the other person, or if they're trying to, match up energies, or if they're trying to be the second, like you said, the second coming, then the universe is going to know how to position you there. And really, really the best thing for people to do is to just hold your intention, really for your whole life. But even like as people approach death and things of this nature, if you're holding your intention, that's the best chance of you getting to exactly where you want to go. If whatever the last thought that you have before you pass, in my opinion, should be it's going to get you the greatest chance of actually making that happen. Now, after you pass, there's a lot of stories about that from different parts of the world about what that's called and what happens there. But sometimes it could be called like the waiting room, or you just kind of hanging out there waiting for the proper time to incarnate. Time, it doesn't exist really outside of, I guess I would say outside of Saturn. It's not conditioned that way anymore. So if you pass and then you're somewhere where there's no time, then if you want to incarnate, but the point in not point in history, but the point in time around the chronology where you decide to incarnate is like 5,000 years in the future. It's not as if you're waiting 5,000 years in this waiting area. You can incarnate immediately, because really the teaching is that all of the dimensions and all of the events are actually just happening now. And the problem is the illusion makes it seem like there's a past and a future.
Mm.
But I've thought about many times, I'm like, well, I know the 1990s is still going, and it's I think the dimension splits when you get to the end of the zeitgeist, or whatever you want to call it. I think it splits.
Wow.
And I think it's an exact copy, but that copy goes somewhere else. And there's still people living there. There's still people who decide they want to come into that incarnation. It's all happening at the same time, but it's a very, very strange concept.
Multiverses, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, multiverse idea for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so how can people find you so you can do this service? And then I've got to log us off.
Okay, sure. Well, I'm on Facebook. That's probably the best place. Just type in my name, Dave Petrella. That's D-A-V-E. My last name is Petrella, P like Peter, E-T-R-E-L-L-A. Just type that in. You'll see it'll pull up. It says I do astrology and biology. I'm also on Instagram if people want to do it that way, under Dave Petrella 12. Mm-hmm. Either of those are fine. And like I said, pretty much anything to do with astrology. I don't really go into the prediction area because it can be really dangerous and it can be really inaccurate. Mm-hmm. And I value people's free will as much as you have. Hold your intention in your heart and do what's in your heart. You're going to get there either way. Mm. And so I don't. Apart from that, and I can do pretty much most things with astrology. If people have any kind of interest, birth charts, you want to match up dates of birth and death and whatever, we can have that whole conversation. I also do general spirituality. So if someone wants to talk about a topic or something from really any part of the world, try to see how it fits or how they can use it or what they can do with it to help their lives, I can do that too. Mm-hmm. And the other one, the last part of it, would be really the biology aspects, which we haven't talked about a lot, but in terms of methods of healing, and to talk about fasting and types of foods and celibacy and all this kind of stuff, and how that fits into higher energetic states. Mm-hmm. I can do that stuff too if people want to have more information on that.
No, that's fantastic. Definitely something that there's not enough time in the show to cover everything, but there's definitely a lot of stuff that I find interesting of what you do. So thank you for joining us.
Yes,
it really was enlightening. Definitely a lot of information. Got a bit of a slow start, but we definitely caught up, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. So again, thank you. And we will definitely be in touch and maybe try to do this again.
That sounds good. Thank both of you. If you want to have a show more on astrology, I'll just take questions. I don't have to show any more charts or anything. I'd be happy to do that too.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. You did a great job. Thank you.
There. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Dave. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you,
Amelia.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Well, we have come to the end of another awesome segment here on the Outer Realm. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in. And thank you, Carrie. Very, very, very welcome. So again, thank you to everybody in chat. And thank you to Dave Petrella. Thank you to Joe Montaldo for manning the fort behind the scenes. Huge thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring the Outer Realm. We appreciate you very much. You're a very big part of our journey. And another huge thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, for providing us with your music and your voice for our new intro and outro. Remember to stop by the International Public Radio on YouTube and subscribe, and head on over to Facebook, show us a little bit of love, and join the page. It would be great. Amelia is really good at keeping it up. Now, if you'd like to get into contact with us, love us, hate us, have something you want to see, someone you want to see, you want to be the person you want everyone to see, hit us up on the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com, the Outer Realm Contact at gmail.com. Now, tomorrow night, we welcome back Mr. Bill Bungay, who is the owner of the most haunted place allegedly in the UK, which is the Black Monk House. And he's been on the show before, but this time he joins us with Mr. Barry Dodds and Ian Bodsworth, and they're going to be discussing a new film called Haunted: The Dark Arts. It's not quite what you think, but it's a hit all over the place, and I think we'll have a lot of fun. It's going to be one of those kind of shows. So until then, Amelia and I thank you. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.
Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio.